Welcome to Master English Stories. Today, we bring you the life of a man who made the whole world laugh, even when he himself was sad inside. He wore a small hat, big shoes, and a funny walk. But behind the comedy was a life full of pain, courage, and hope. This is the true story of Charlie Chaplin, the man who made silence speak and laughter heal. Charlie Chaplin was born on April 16, 1889, in London, England. His family was very poor. His father was a singer, but he drank too much and left the family. His mother, Hannah, also sang on stage, but her health was weak. Sometimes, she could not work at all. Charlie and his older brother, Sidney, lived in small rooms with no heat. Sometimes, they had no food. Sometimes, they were sent to a workhouse, a place for very poor people. Life was hard, but even as a small boy, Charlie had something special. He could make people laugh. He would copy funny people on the street. He would dance, act, and tell little jokes. People smiled when they saw him. His mother saw his talents and told him, "One day, the world will know your name." He believed her. That dream kept him going. When Charlie was only 5 years old, he first walked onto a stage. His mother was supposed to sing that night, but her voice broke. The crowd got angry. So, Charlie stepped up and sang a simple song. The people clapped and laughed. That moment stayed with him forever. It was the start of his life in the spotlight. He didn't go to regular school like other children. Most of his learning came from the streets and from his own hard life. He watched people, copied them, and learned how to entertain. Even when things were dark, Charlie kept smiling. He learned to survive with humor. His childhood was not just poor, it was painful. His mother was placed in a mental hospital when he was very young. Charlie had to depend on himself. He learned that life was not fair, but he also learned to turn pain into strength. Charlie worked in small plays and comedy shows in England. He danced, made jokes, and played funny characters. Slowly, his name became known. When he was 19, he got a chance to go to the United States with a group of performers. In America, people loved his humor. He was soon offered a role in silent films, movies with no sound. Back then, films were new, and actors had to show emotion without speaking. Charlie used his face, body, and eyes to make people laugh or cry. People in Hollywood noticed his talent quickly. Soon, his face was known everywhere. Movie theaters were filled whenever his films played. People laughed until they cried. Some even watched the same film again and again. In 1914, Charlie created a new character, the Tramp. He wore a bowler hat, a small mustache, a cane, and oversized clothes. He walked in a funny way, always kind, but always in trouble. The Tramp was not rich. He was often hungry. But he had a big heart. The world fell in love with the Tramp. He was poor but proud, funny but wise. People in every country related to him. Charlie didn't just act, he made people feel. The Tramp became a symbol of hope. When people were sad or poor, they saw him and remembered to smile. The Tramp reminded people that being poor doesn't mean being less. That kindness, even in hard times, is a strength. And that laughter can live even in the darkest places. He played the Tramp for more than 20 years. Each time, the stories grew richer. Some were very funny, others were deeply emotional. All of them were unforgettable. Chaplin's movies were not just funny, they were about real life. He showed hunger, sadness, love, and hope all without using words. In The Kid 1921, he showed the love between a poor man and an orphan boy. The scenes of them eating together, playing together, staying together, they touched hearts everywhere. In City Lights 1931, he helped a blind girl. She thought he was rich, but he was just a poor man who cared. He gave her all he had, and in the end, she saw again. But the moment she touched his hand, she realized it was him. That scene is still remembered as one of the most beautiful in film history. In Modern Times 1936, he showed how people were being used by machines. He worked in a factory where everything was fast, cold, and hard. The film was funny, but the message was serious. He believed that even in dark times, laughter could bring light. Charlie often said, "In the end, everything is a gag." But he knew that behind every gag, there was a truth, a lesson, a reflection of real life. He was not afraid to mix tears with smiles. That was his art. That was his gift. In 1940, the world was in pain. Adolf Hitler had started war in Europe. People were scared. Charlie made a brave choice. He created a film called The Great Dictator. In it, he played both a kind Jewish barber and a cruel ruler who looked like Hitler. Some cried, some stood up in theaters and clapped. Others watched in silence, their hearts heavy, their minds open. That speech is still remembered today. It is one of the greatest speeches in film history. Charlie took a big risk, but he believed in truth. He believed in using his voice for good. Even though Charlie was loved by many, some people didn't like his ideas. They said he was too political. After World War II, during the Cold War, America became afraid of different voices. Charlie spoke for the poor, the weak, the forgotten. Some called him a danger. In 1952, when Charlie left the US to visit Europe, the government said he could not return. He was hurt, but not broken. He moved to Switzerland with his family and kept making music and writing stories. He said, "I am a citizen of the world." In those quiet years, he wrote, composed, and enjoyed life with his wife and children. He took long walks, played the violin, and watched the mountains. He missed America, but he also found peace. He was older now, slower, but his heart still dreamed. Years later, the world realized its mistake. In 1972, Charlie was invited back to the US to receive a special Oscar award. When he came on stage, the crowd stood up and clapped for 12 minutes, the longest standing ovation in Oscar history. Tears filled his eyes. After so much pain, he felt love again. In that moment, he didn't speak. He just smiled. His eyes said everything. He had come home, one last time. Charlie Chaplin died on December 25, 1977, at the age of 88. The world lost a legend, but his films still live on. He once said, "To truly laugh, you must be able to take your pain and play with it." That's what he did. He turned his sadness into joy for others. He made the world laugh, even when he was crying inside. He left behind more than movies. He left a message. That laughter is powerful, that kindness is brave, and that silence can say more than words. Today, Charlie Chaplin is remembered not just as a comedian, but as a storyteller, a dreamer, a human with a big heart. His movies are still shown. His image still brings smiles. Children who don't speak English can still laugh at his films. Elders still wipe their eyes after watching City Lights. His art crosses all borders. He came from nothing. He lost everything, and still, he gave the world joy. He said, "Life is a tragedy when seen in close-up, but a comedy in long shot." He taught us to zoom out, to laugh at the hard parts, to find beauty even in pain. Charlie taught us not to give up, not to grow bitter, and not to stop dreaming. So when life is hard, remember the man with the little hat and the big shoes, the man who fell 100 times and stood up 101, the man who taught us to smile even with tears in our eyes. Behind the camera and away from the stage, Charlie Chaplin lived a life full of emotions, relationships, and lessons. He fell in love many times. Some of his relationships were beautiful, and some were painful. He married 4 times. His last wife, Una O'Neill, was much younger than him, but their love was deep and lasting. Together, they had 8 children. Charlie loved his children dearly. He would play with them, tell them stories, and show them old films. He tried to give them the joy and care he never had as a child. Though he was a public figure, Charlie was also a private man. He often wrote letters to friends and family. In those letters, he showed his thoughts, fears, and hopes. He read books, played the violin and cello, and enjoyed painting. He once said, "What do you want a meaning for? Life is a desire, not a meaning." He was always thinking, always creating. Even in his later years, he wrote books, composed music, and worked on unfinished film ideas. After being banned from the United States, Charlie Chaplin settled in Switzerland. His house, called Montauban, was calm and surrounded by nature. He spent many peaceful years there with his family. He enjoyed walking through the green hills and by the quiet lakes. He liked the silence. It gave him time to reflect on his life. He often looked at the mountains and thought about how far he had come, from a poor boy on the streets of London to one of the greatest names in film history. In Switzerland, Charlie also welcomed guests. Artists, writers, and actors from all over the world came to visit him. They spoke about cinema, life, and dreams. Charlie Chaplin inspired millions not just with his films, but with his story. He showed that anyone, no matter how poor or broken, could rise, could dream, and could change the world. Filmmakers still study his work, his timing, his use of silence, his ability to mix comedy with emotion. These things are still taught in film schools today. Artists, teachers, and speakers quote him. His words still bring comfort and courage. And most importantly, people still laugh with him. In a world full of noise and trouble, the little man with the big heart still brings joy. Charlie Chaplin's legacy is not just in films. It is in the hope he gave, the smiles he created, the tears he turned into laughter. He taught us that even when life is unfair, we can still dance. Even when the world turns its back, we can still move forward. And even when we are in pain, we can still make someone else smile. He said, "You'll never find a rainbow if you're looking down. So let us keep looking up," as he did. This was the life of Charlie Chaplin, a life of hardship, laughter, courage, and love. A life that touched the whole world. A life that will never be forgotten. Thank you for joining us at Master English Stories. We hope you are inspired.